to the 40k Fireside podcast, where we discuss everything to do with competitive Warhammer 40k with your hosts Vik, VJ, and David Gaylord.
Hello everyone, and welcome to some guard building. Give me 1 second here, I'm just getting my music going. If you're wondering what I'm listening to Keith Jarrett's Colton concert, great jazz pianist, solo jazz pianist, improvisational pianist player. Right, anyway, a bit of a sidetrack there. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to be talking today about one of the factions, but before we go on, just going to plug the masterclass really quick. We've already had about 20 people sign up, and it's on the 26th of January, GMT plus 7 p.m. And if you're in America, Central Time, 1 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be going through a much more depth and technical version of what I'm going to go through here. So it's a good example of what a taster of what you'll get. And we're going to be going through every single tournament list for each detachment, and it's going to give you a great time to start. It's going to be about 3.5 hours to 4 hours long. £50 is insane value. If you're interested, you can PayPal 40kfireside@gmail.com, or you can send an email through. If you can't attend live, we also have a package plan if you want to just get the recording as well. So if you're keen for that, let me know. It is in 6 days time, so it's going to be an absolute banger. I would have played every single one of these lists, so if you're looking to take it to a tournament or you want to get ahead of the curve, then it's a good way of getting involved and supporting me. Nice. Awesome. So let's go through it. I'm going to remove this. So what I thought I'd do today is go through my kind of thought process when it comes to building lists, and this could be for any faction, I think, but obviously with Guard it's a little bit easier for me because I think no matter what you do in 40k in terms of like building a list, your faction doesn't change a lot. Now we've had instances where your faction can change a lot, like dramatically. Maybe the most prime example that comes to my mind is like Orc freebooters back in 9th edition, like where you had Orcs as kind of Warg army, combat army, all of a sudden change or transition into this giant shooting army. I don't know if 9th edition we've really had that. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is that once you learn a faction, you kind of inherently learn it, and you typically take the same traits from detachment build to detachment build. And so a lot of the times it's not about completely reinventing the wheel, so to speak, right? It's about taking a recipe for success and translating that into a new detachment that is going to take advantage in different things. Take advantage of it in different ways, and that could be either it allows you to skew better for the meta, it could be it's better for a teams event, or it could be just inherently powerful one-dimensionality to it. Okay, great. So we're going to talk today about combined arms. I thought I'd just start with the index attachment because that's a really good starting place and it exemplifies a couple of things which I've just talked about. So I'm going to bring my microphone a little bit closer forward. Okay, combined arms. I'll try to turn this up a little bit. Okay, cool. So combined arms. It's the detachment you all love and know, and detachment that got hated the most over the last 6 months. Now, some things have changed, but a lot are similar. Okay, so let's just go, and when I first see a detachment, I like to think, just read through the strats and enhancements, and think anything that stands out to me, I'm like, wow, that's really good. Now, this is kind of borrowing a concept from Magic the Gathering. Whenever something would get printed, you would be like, wow, that's a great combo piece. Like, how can I break this combo piece, right? Like, you're looking at elements of the detachment that are inherently strong for some kind of combo, and that's a combo you're going to centralize your list building around to take advantage of. So just want to keep that in mind and read through me at the same time. Okay. First up, 1 CP coordinated action, any phase. Pick a regiment and a squadron unit, and then it says, until the end of the phase, orders affecting one of your units affect the other, and vice versa. Now, I read this as you would get 2 orders on each unit, and I think that's definitely how they've intended to do this. I have read this as intended that if you have orders on one unit and then orders on another unit, they both share all of the orders that they have combined. So pretty good. Okay, that's definitely something we've got some potential around, and we're going to get to that, but not inherently insane. Reinforcements, this is obviously the same one as before, so, we do know and love this, and we're going to want to build something around it. Flexible command. Any number of Astromilitarum officer units from your army, until the end of the phase, your officers can issue orders to regiment and squadron units. This is a really prime idea for something that you can break. Now, go with me here for a second. Typically, when you think about the guard hierarchy, or when I think about it, you need a kind of ratio of squadron orders to actual squadron units. So this isn't really much of a problem with regiment because the officers are very cheap in regiment. You don't pay a premium for them, and they're obviously just good standalone characters anyway, so they're going to do an action or something like that. So when we think about this, all of a sudden this really changes the dynamic that we've never had before. And that's what you're kind of looking for when you look at something that could potentially be busted, like changing a dynamic of something to kind of break the rules that were previously in place. So when I think about this, I'm like, okay, I've got some notes across here to the side, and I'm just going to highlight this one. Okay, flexible command. So how could we take advantage of this? It's 2 CP, obviously, so it's going to use up most of our CP every turn. That's not great, but if we use it from turn 2 onwards, then we're going to have 2 CP banked already, so we'll have 2 to spend, or 3 to spend over the course of the game if we use it like that. So interesting. Now, what if we just built a list that had all the Lehman Russ hulls and then just had cheap officers? Super viable. Like this would be really powerful in the previous index, the current codex, where squadron units have much less orders, but we know that in this codex, Rogal Dawn tank commanders and tank commanders have base 2 orders each. So it loses a little bit of viability because we have base 2 orders each, but it should get your brain ticking. Like, what if we just had a build where on a go turn you had Ursula Creed, Gaunt's Ghosts, and something else? You could move a tank with move, move, move. Your ghost could be in reserve, come back down, and then order it +1 to hit because they can order squadron vehicles and order another vehicle. So something really cool to consider. You could get a lot more hulls for the amount of price that you're paying, but you'd be spending that 2 CP mostly every turn on it. So kind of cool way I like to think about it. Okay, field 5. 1 regiment and 1 squadron unit for your army that's not been selected to shoot this phase. You basically pick an enemy unit and you get +1 AP against it. Awesome. This is definitely something you can build around every single turn, right? So Fields of Fire, like I was looking at Scions would be really good. A Lehman Russ battle tank would be really good. Notably, it doesn't have a range limitation, which is awesome. So, like, if you have your Lehman Russ battle tank at AP1, you could shoot like a vehicle, and then your Scions could shoot the plasma at that vehicle and split shot another direction with their AP1 weapons. So, like, you could split shot into some Jackals, and then you could shoot the plasmas one direction, which puts them to AP4, which is a really nice breakpoint, maybe. Really cool. And this says 1 regiment unit, 1 squadron unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Select 1 enemy unit until the end of the phase. Each time your selected unit, regiment unit, and squadron unit make an attack that hits this enemy unit, improve the AP by 1. So basically, it doesn't restrict you from only shooting that unit as well, which is really nice. So you can just drop down +1 AP. And you can just pick a random squadron unit in the middle of nowhere that's, like, is about to shoot later. Okay, great. This is just on-demand +1 AP. If you think about something that's really powerful, it's like, Armor of Contempt is obviously very powerful. It's less powerful now. And this isn't exactly Armor of Contempt in its old version, but on-demand +1 AP is super, super powerful for a lot of things hitting crucial breakpoints. Alright, so Fields of Fire, definitely something you could see like, oh, think about your game plan. Every single turn I'm going to FOF, right? Nice. Inspire Command. Your opponent's command phase, 1 Astro Militarum unit officer, you can issue a command. I mean, same old as it used to be. You can't order Ogren now, but now with tanks having multiple orders, you know, perhaps we're going to be building a vehicle list that can take advantage of that +1 OC. So looking at some critical breakpoints here, maybe are we thinking like a Hellhound, go to OC4, come here, go to OC3, stuff like that. We all know and love that one. And then Stalwart Protector. Now we're looking at a vehicle here. Basically, if your infantry is behind a vehicle, then you get cover. Basically not important at all. Who would possibly care about that? So we can immediately kind of discard Stalwart Protector and Inspired Command and then focus on probably Coordinated Action, Fields of Fire, and Reinforcements. Like, we've kind of gone, okay, we're going to try and build our list around these 3 things here. Okay, same thing happens with Enhancements. Drill Commander, you get a crit on 5+, but you have to be stationary, and it's officer model only. So this is immediately just bad. Spoiler alert, don't take it. Grand Strategist is nice, and I think Grand Strategist, I have the points around here somewhere. I think Grand Strat stays at 20 points. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just opening Reddit. I have another spreadsheet with all my guard lists, so for this masterclass, and I don't want to accidentally swap to that. I know I've got the enhancement cost there. Yes, the Reddit community's been great for all these points and stuff, I found. Okay, they're all the same points. Fantastic. Grand Strat is 15 points. Is nice, but bearing in mind it does make quite a lot of the units pretty expensive after that, so something to consider. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't play it anymore, or if you need to downgrade a tank commander to fit something in, or a Rogue or Dawn tank commander to fit something in. You could then downgrade a tank to an LBR, a Lemurus battle tank maybe, and then get Grand Strategist to still have a sufficient number of orders to function. Okay, Reactive Command. This is absolutely awful. I don't know why they would ever think that's a good stratagem. Enhancement, do not take that. And then Death Mark of Olanius is basically never going to get played anyway. So, enhancement wise, mostly duds. Grand Strategist is going to maybe try and, like, you can combo Grand Strat with Flexible Command, maybe, right? Maybe there's something there. Flexible Command. So, just looking about Flexible Command, again, you could have Leontis with a command squad in it, and you could order, you could have Leontis command squad, and then you could order like 5 units. Or, for example, here's a good thing: you could have a command squad and Ursula, and that would be like 5 orders that you could give across flexible command at 24 inches to any squadron unit, which, when you think about it, is really cheap if you just want to field a lot of stuff. So there you go. That's interesting. Okay, so that's the kind of how I would break it down and how I look at it in my head. List building is something I consider myself to be like probably the strongest aspect of my gameplay. So that's just my own personal rating, but yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go through and talk now about how to start the list, because I think a lot of people run into this kind of paralysis. My mouth's running at 100 miles an hour, sorry, so I'm going to take a break for a breather. How to build a list. Okay. If you're in a type of paralysis, one of the best ways to do this is to simplify your decision making. So what you should do is, if you're going through a new detachment or something, put 1 unit in to take advantage of every single one of these stratagems, right? So you know how we said we need reinforcements, right? Well, we need to have a great reinforcement target, right? So start your list with either 20 Krieg, 10 Kasrkin, or 10 Scions, right? Okay, great. And that means that you've got something in this list designed to take advantage of one of your best stratagems. Great. Now, coordinated action. Okay, well, how can we try and take advantage of this the most? Well, Kasrkin can be affected by 2 orders at a time. So what if we order the Kasrkin, then coordinated action it with another unit, like a tank, for example? Does that mean that we get 3 orders on each? That could be really cool. So what could we look there? Like +1 rapid fire. It's not amazing for tanks, but what if you had +1 rapid fire and like ripper guns and firing deck? Like, does that make a difference? I don't know how the interaction works, but I'm not sure if they become equipped with it. But this is kind of the thinking involved, right? And then like you would get move, and then also cover or something, right? So could be good. Obviously, cover doesn't really affect a tank, but I mean +1 save. But +1 OC, 3-inch move, +1 to hit, or +1 to hit, 3-inch move, +1 rapid fire. You can split those across for 1 CP. Might be a powerful thing. So okay, let's try and get something we want to take. Let's try and use coordinated action as best as possible. So we want to include like a rapid fire gun. So maybe a Chimera plus Ogren. Like, we know that that's kind of good anyway, so that's a good way. Okay, Fields of Fire. What could really push our AP up to a breakpoint where it's really powerful? Okay, maybe like an Exterminator is really good to buff an AP already, and then Fields of Fire for 1 CP, and then shoot it with an LBRT is going to give you AP 3 Battle Cannon, which is still D6 plus 3, 10-3, which would now be 10-3-3. Right? So all of a sudden you kind of have like a Demolisher replacement there, but it's long range. So really nice there. It's more consistent. Flexible command. This is probably an option that I want to build around, so I'm not going to go for that yet. It's more like, oh shit, I don't have anything to buff this guy. I got 2 CP, flexible command. And then Spy Command and Stalwart Protector. Like I said, we're not really going to build around these 3 strats. Okay. So if you've got like decision paralysis, start with and then, okay, one more thing. You also need to include the best stratagem in the game, Rapid Ingress. So always have a target to Rapid Ingress. If you're a beginner and you're listening to this and you don't play guard, always include in your list an option to Rapid Ingress something. It is really baffling to me the amount of players that don't do this. I always, in every single list, have a great target for Rapid Ingress. And in most games, your opponent's not going to have everything on the board and jam you. So it's basically just 1 CP teleport at that point. So, and sometimes it's 0 CP because you just come from reserve. So it's almost the best stratagem in the game, in my opinion. So try and take advantage of it. So Rapid Ingress, Reinforcements, Coordinated Action, Fields of Fire. That's 4 things we're going to build around already. So that should be already like 800 points to your list. Great. Now you can get started. Okay, I'm going to unhide this. Wee, fancy. Now, you're going to want to be paying sort of attention to this part of the screen now. Okay. Now, let me bring up this. This is a visual picture of it. If you're a visual learner, this is kind of what this list looks like, and I'm going to pop it over the top here. There you go. This is visual, people. Okay, fantastic. So, all right, Index Guard. Index Guard. What is Index Guard good at? Okay, well, it's good at board control. And what is our payoff for playing Index Guard? Well, we get lethals if our vehicles get lethals against vehicles and monsters. Very good. And then our infantry get lethals against non-vehicles, non-monsters. Also very good. Okay, really good. So let's think about how we could build this. And this is going to be for singles. But I do think this is extremely viable for teams as well, because of that detachment rule. Potentially very, very powerful in teams. So let's try and build a list that takes advantage of that. So we know we probably primarily want to play a hull-based list, right? And we don't want to deviate from our tried and true method too far, right? So if I were just to play a list and a new detachment, Combined Arms is really good because we've obviously played it before and we're familiar with it. I would start with kind of the base, right? Okay, so we're going to go with 2 Catachans, and then we're going to go with 2 Ogrins, and then we're going to go with 2 Chimeras. Okay. Bam. This is our starting point, right? Okay. This just gives us a really nice board control package. Ogrins are super effective. Really good with Fields of Fire as well, probably. They're good with coordinated. Oh, they're not regional squadron anyway. I knew that anyway, but I was just like double checking you couldn't combo that. They are good with just chimeras, right? Firing deck, and maybe we could try and use coordinated action plus the firing deck if we get a tier rule on how that works. Could be interesting. 60 points. I really like them. I love them in Bridgehead. So obviously they don't get reroll ones in Bridge and Index, but you can still get +1 to hit on your Chimera with the firing deck. So that's a nice package. It gives us a really solid base, right? Like, we're going to be able to play Warhammer, we're going to be able to put stuff on the objectives, and we're going to be able to poke something out and then have counter shooting. Okay, cool. So then let's get to the reinforcement target. We've got 2 options here. We've got the Scion Command Squad and Scions. Okay, great. We've got a reinforcement target right here. Okay, cool. Well, we've got a second reinforcement target, because sometimes what actually happens is that you kind of slow roll the Scions, waiting for a good position for them, and you use the Caskins really early on, and they end up in a point where they don't actually kill your Scions. So we've got a backup reinforcement option here in Caskins as well. We know we're going to be able to take care of that strat. We want to use that strat, and we know we're going to be able to use it now. Caskins also lets us combo with coordinated action, so a bit of a double up there. Awesome. Now, we've got the, let's get to that Rogodorn commander in a second. Okay, now, we're going to want to be playing vehicles. So, what are some of the classic combos? Well, we've got Lemuros Battle Tank and Exterminator. It's pretty hard to go wrong with that combo, you know. Both long-range shooting options, which are good, and +1 AP on the Lemuros Battle Tank puts it to AP2, which means it can actually dent stuff. And then we've got Fields of Fire on top of that. Remember our +1 AP strat, which is awesome as well. So, really nice. Yes, okay, interesting. So I wanted to just double check there for a second. You can Fields of Fire, and if you've played like a Acadian heavy weapon team, you could get +1 AP on your indirect as well, but you would need to be AP2 with the field ordnance battery. So stuff's brewing. As you see, I've got 3 though, so we could still take advantage of that. Okay, great. LBRT and Exterminator, we like that. That's good. That's a good combo. It's just solid. Like, it's going to start us on our journey to having a good firing base. So, okay, great. We know we want to have a good firing base. Now, then let's get to how we're going to actually order this stuff. Now, the Rogal Tank Commander is definitely a solid option, and it's a really easy way to start any guard list. Rogal Tank Commander. It's long range firepower. It combos really well with the Exterminator. It combos really well with the Fields of Fire as well. Just like, just straight up using spamming Fields of Fire on it is really deadly. So it's really solid. It's like a long range demolisher cannon at that point. So really good. We're going to include that as our shell. Great. Okay, cool. So look what we've got here. I'm just going to select a couple of things here. I'm not an Excel wizard. Apologies. But here we go here. Okay, so we take this out. Play nice, please. Of course. Sorry, guys, one second. Okay. And left them in, of course. Cool. Fantastic. Okay, I just wanted to get the total to show up. I'll remove the cycle stimulation machine as well. Okay, cool. So this is like the shell, right? This is kind of what is non-negotiable in a certain sense, right? So when I think of something, I'm like, I want all these pieces. It's kind of non-negotiable, right? Then when I get down to, I'm probably going to get a little bit further than this before I do this, but when we get close to that 2,000 mark, I'm going to be looking at the last 300 points, and it's going to be a really rough process of trying to figure out what is going to make the cut, as I said. So let's think about it. Rogal Tank Commander, now we're going to need to look at the ratio of orders to tanks that we have. So Rogal Tank Commander, we've got 2 orders here, so it's basically +1 order because it's going to want to order itself. And we've probably got at least 1, 2, 3 tanks, and then maybe some chimeras that we're going to want to order as well. Okay, so already from here, I can see that we're going to need to play another tank commander of some kind, right? So I'm going to add the values back in here. So, okay, we're going to put a tank commander in so we can get an additional 2 orders. Now, when we think about this, we want the Rogal Dawn, the Leman Russ, and that's going to be basically 2 orders for our main tanks, okay? Probably an Exterminator and an Eradicator maybe, depending on what you want to go with. So we still kind of need 1 order in here, so there's something to think about as well. So this is kind of core right now, I would say. This or a Rogal Dawn battle tank is core. Okay, great. Now let's think about some of the weaknesses to our list, right? What does our list really struggle against, and how could we get caught off guard? And what's good in the meta right now? Right, okay, well, I know Bridgehead's really popular in the meta. I think Demonettes are probably going to be pretty good in the meta. I think just Marines in general are going to be good. Screening my backfield is going to be important. And it's going to be really hard for me to play the game if someone can move block my tanks. So what kind of package can I play for that? Well, Ursula Creed gives me a free strat on my Silence and Kaskin. It's not terrible. And then I could play, she now gives 3 orders, so I could play 3 mortar teams aside her. That's kind of like a nice package. You think about it, it's 215 points. And it gives you a lot of play around the entire battlefield. We're going to want to push our Chimeras and Leman Russes forward and have forward pressure. So something that screens our backfield naturally is going to be very useful. It also helps us out with some matchups, which is nice as well. So, nice, that's good. I mean, in a matchup where it's not good, you could always just start your mortar team, near the central ruin, and then just do area denial on turn 1. Okay, they killed a mortar team. Who cares, right? Great. Congratulations. It wasn't going to do anything anyway. So cool. That's definitely a package we could play. I kind of, in my head, I'm like, these are packages, right? They kind of go to get this 215 point package. Right. So now we're kind of thinking, well, I'm primarily playing a shooting based list and I want to have a strong shooting base to it. I've got a rapid ingress target with the Leman Russ battle tank. Maybe I should be trying out one of these new units, like Eradicator. In my head, I'm not really sure about how it's going to play and how effective it's going to be. But I know at -1 damage, I could sit it behind a ruin, shooting long range, and I could get the plasma cannon, so it's all 36. And then maybe that's a nice combo, so I really want to explore that. It's a nice package. And if the LBRT is an outflank, I'll have 2 orders extra for my tanks to give to these guys. Nice. So LBRT gets 4 rerolls on objective, which means that if he goes in rapid ingress, he can start, come on the board, move, shoot with 4 rerolls. Kind of independent. Nice. So that's kind of a cool combo. This is something I want to test. So then we've kind of got 200, 215, 385 points, 400, and then this is obviously Cyclops Demolition Machine. You can order, so it gets OC, so you can do an action. It's kind of nice as well. Actually, I don't think you can order the Cyclops Demolition Machine. I think you can just do orders with it. No, let me look up something really quick, guys. Where are you, my cute little Cyclops demolition machine? Yeah, you can't order it. That's fine. That's kind of what I thought. I mean, it's okay for doing, area denial or something, but like we said, this is a 25 points, so we can maybe put that to Grand Strategist, maybe get another enhancement or a 10-point upgrade somewhere else, right? Like, that's very viable. Okay, great. So now we've kind of like developed the core part of our shell, and I'm just going to rewind to undo everything. So if you've gotten this far and you're like, oh, I haven't written my list yet, and what I would encourage you to do right now, don't just copy my list and then run with it. Try and go through the process yourself, because that'll help you become a better list builder as time goes on. So for example, start with what you consider to be the core part. No, start with what you consider you want to use to take advantage of these stratagems right here. Analyze which stratagems you think are really important. Analyze the play patterns. If it's a 1 CB1, can I spam that every turn after turn 1? Okay, great. I want to use things that are lower AP that are typically a weakness of those to get higher AP, of course, right? Great. Reinforcements. I really need 1 unit of that. Great. How can I use that? Coordinated action. How can I use that as well, right? So have a unit for each of those core stratagems that you want to take advantage of, right? Then add a solid gameplay package to your army. Like, well, I kind of need like at least a couple units of Exalted 8-bound, for example, or I need at least like a couple of Ballistus Dreadnoughts would solve me holding objectives and give me a solid firing base. Okay, great. Add that main filler in, right? Like that's like I'm trying to think of an analogy. The cheesecake came to mind, right? Like that's like your cheesecake filling, right? You want that stuff in there, right? That's the bulk of your list. And then you kind of get to this point where you've got a selective use for each stratagem. Then you kind of go, okay, I now want to, I've got like 300 to 400 points left. What do I think my detachment tells me to build into? And what do I think is good in the meta? Well, okay, then you've got that really hard point, right? Now, in my head, and I tell my clients this as well, I say, in the last 100 200 points of your list, I say, okay, sell me this like it's a product, right? You have to sell me this right now. So if you're going to include something in your list, you need to make a great argument for it, right? You need to say, it's there for this reason in this specific matchup, because I've found that you don't have enough damage to, kill a Doomsday Arc back or whatever like that, right? Vindicator is really tough for me, so it's this specifically for Marines and Vindicators, and I use it for Rapid Ingress. Okay, great. That's a good example. If you can't come up with those units that are outside your core shell, if you can't come up with a valid, solid, logical reasoning for why you're including them, chances are you probably shouldn't have them, right? So you want to avoid bottlenecks on stuff like rapid ingressing, for example, on grenading, for example. You want to avoid bottlenecks on like turn 1 plays or turn 2 plays. So anything that's going to create a bottleneck, you can look to chuck out and fill in with another slot. There we go. That's kind of the list building. If you want to explore with this list, I think it's really solid. A couple of things I'm not sure about. Maybe the Kaskin aren't good. Maybe I just use the Scions earlier and then I get the Kaskin out later. Maybe coordinated action, the CP is too close that I can't use that enough, right? Maybe this maybe this heavy weapon team could just become a field ordnance battery. Or I drop the Kaskin, get a field ordnance battery, so I have 10 points more. Then I drop a Cadian heavy weapon team, I have 60 points more. And then I get another unit of Ogren, or maybe I get another unit of infantry squad, for example. Maybe I go for the Krieg guys, for example. For example, you could drop the Kaskin unit down to a field ordnance battery, drop a mortar, and then drop a Cyclops demolition machine and get the new Krieg heavy weapon team, for example. I'm pretty sure it's 75. So yeah, engineers, I'm not a huge fan of at the moment. 70 points, they're pretty expensive for a 3+ roll. Your opponent can kind of stay away from key ruins there. But yeah, this has been the index detachment. I'm going to go through it once more. If you've gotten this far, I'll be hosting a masterclass on guard building for the new Codex. 6 lists, 6 detachments, all lists that I've played, and are going to be tournament ready for you. I go through all this process. I'm sitting down, playing a game with each of these lists, finding out the combos, what's good, get you ahead of it. If you're interested, again, there'll be a link in the description, 40kfireside@gmail.com. Hope this has been good for you guys. Take it for a spin. Let me know what you found was good in the comments, and get back to me. Awesome. See you guys later. This has been the index detachment for guard. Well, combined arms in the new Codex. See you guys.